Welcome everybody. Today is going to be a little bit of a different video because we're kind of struggling over what we should talk about. I'm kind of going on one track and Ken's going on the other track.
It doesn't seem we're united
We're
on
not
this.
united
No.
on this, and that's okay. Maybe God will bring it together and to make it something beautiful.
But Janelle had a good weekend.
I did have a really good
So
weekend.
why don't you share what the Lord did in your heart and what you saw? Because I think it would bless people.
Yes. I would hope so, but yes. Okay, so this past weekend I attended a women's conference, a women's retreat here in Saskatoon. And, you know, that doesn't happen very often. I feel like, when's the last time I went on a retreat?
A year ago. Was it?
Well, there wasn't, no, it was
you
like...
didn't attend, maybe?
No, it was online. So that was at someone's house.
Yeah, really
that was a
different.
That was a little different. But this was the first time in probably like 2 or 3 years that I went to a retreat, and there was over almost 400 people there.
Women.
And, you know, beautiful sessions, great speakers, praise and worship, mass, confessions, time for fellowship, beautiful meal. And then on the Sunday, I had the privilege of leading a panel discussion with 6 women, 5 of which are religious. One was a consecrated virgin, and then 4 of them were from different religious orders. And then one was a mother who had 2 daughters who entered religious orders. So it was just so enlightening. And for myself, as a mother of 7 children, I just always wonder, Lord, how can I create the best possible circumstance, you know, favorable conditions in order to help our children, you know, choose you first and foremost, but then also maybe potentially a religious vocation. You know, I think for some families, maybe they don't want their kids to enter an order or their sons to become a priest. But for me, I actually really hope that some of our children become religious. And then I was thinking also, what if God called all of them? What if God called all of them to be priests, religious, and we ended up with no grandchildren?
I'd have to do some detaching.
You would? Okay, so yeah. I was trying to ask myself, would I be okay with that?
Well, I would rejoice in that. Because honestly, I wouldn't mind I would love to have grandchildren. Mm-hmm. You know, I would love that. We're speaking hypothetically here.
Our oldest is 12.
We're talking about hypothetically all our children having a religious vocation.
Right, but
I would also rejoice in that.
But some people only have like 1 or 2 or 3, and then like if one of them becomes a religious, like that creates a big hole in their family, because depending on the order that they might join, they might not see that child, you know, for great lengths of time. So, some of the questions that I asked were just simply like, how did you feel the call in your life? Or what would be beneficial or helpful for young people when they come to a point of discerning their vocation? And then obviously to the mother, I asked her, I said, you know, what did you do in your home? Please tell me your secrets, your tips.
What did she say?
You know what she said?
No.
She said daily mass. Mm-hmm. And she said, ultimately it's grace. It's up to God, really.
Yeah.
So we just do our best to try to create a beautiful home for faith to grow and to thrive. And, you know, exposing them to the saints, exposing children to good and wholesome, you know, materials, reading, literature, shows, whatever it is. And obviously taking them to the sacraments.
There was a couple questions that were asked I thought were interesting that you shared with me.
Oh, yes, there was some, like just from the crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the people in the crowd asked, like, you know, if my child has autism, is like high functioning autistic person, would they be able to join an order? And one of the sisters responded saying that, you know, each person they discern individually, you know, for that person. And there are some circumstances where, yes, people with different varying abilities are part of these orders.
I thought that was beautiful because the church welcomes everyone. Mm-hmm. Society doesn't. Mm-hmm. You got to be productive to be valuable according to society. You have to look a certain way, have a certain skill set, or else you're kind of there's many things that make a person, quote, undesirable, especially if you're really unproductive in the womb of a mother. Mm. Or at the end of your life and you can't contribute, well, then we'll just order maid in and we'll get rid of you. Mm-hmm. But the church always upholds the dignity of the human person. Mm-hmm. And I think I'd never thought of that speaking of autism, for example,
Right.
could a person ever have a religious vocation with a religious order? I never thought of that. And I think that's beautiful that the response was each individual case is discerned, but that's for everyone, right?
Yes. So, no, it was a very lovely afternoon. I learned so much. So, an encouragement to parents, if your child is discerning a vocation, like what could they do? And one of the sisters said that she was encouraged to get a spiritual director, to attend come and see weekends with various orders, and to pray every single day for her vocation.
Ultimately, vocations to the priesthood or religious life are discovered in the home. I mean, there's exceptions can be made. God's very merciful, but typically it's in the home. And we've talked about this recently, but are you praying for the vocations of your children and grandchildren? We have to. Most Catholic parents don't. Most Catholic parents don't care about that. And the reason why we can say that quite confidently is because of a Pew Research that recently came out. It was highlighted by Catholic News Agency. Just listen to this.
In the study released last month and expounded further in a February 6th article, 35% of Catholic parents with children under 18 said it is extremely or very important for their children to grow up to share their religious beliefs.
So 35% said it's extremely important or very important. Well, that's great for that 35%, but the reality is the other parents don't care. And that's a big problem because that has to do with a person's salvation. This highlights the complete lack of formation with parents. It's bad, friends. It's bad. In the midst of that darkness, there is shining lights, and that panel is a shining light. But what do? Well, we have to continue to pray for our children because most parents are not going to. It's our responsibility to foster the vocations of our children, whether it's to marriage or the religious life or priesthood. We can't expect the Catholic school to nurture that. It's not their job. They can facilitate, but most fail at that, especially in Canada, just being honest. Some good private Catholic schools in the U.S., many, very few in Canada. You can't expect your diocesan office to nurture that vocation. They can facilitate and they can help, but it's not their primary job and role. And honestly, diocesan offices are stretched to their breaking point. They're not coming to the rescue for vocations for your children. They can help. They can do what they can, but it's the parents' responsibility. You can't rely on your parish either. Again, they can facilitate, they can help in the ways that they can. But in the end, it's parents' responsibility to bring their children to Jesus. So we bring them to the sacraments at the church. Yeah. And
I think another good thing is maybe we should be praying for these other people in the pews who don't believe that it's necessary for their children to have the same faith as them. I just think that's so wild.
Yeah, maybe we don't want their children to have their faith because it's so watered down. We wanted it to be improved, right?
Yeah, we should be praying for them. That's what we should do.
Oh, Kat and Janelle are so judgmental today.
Well, I feel like you're a little judgmental. But it's okay.
It's a judgment. Yeah,
you can pray for us too.
Yeah, sure. Hey, well, I think that's it. Do we have anything else to say?
No.
Before I dig a hole deeper and deeper.
Okay, that's good.
Share with us what stood out to you below and why. Remember, next week is Ash Wednesday, so we're going to have our Ash Wednesday Lenten retreat starting. If you want to join that, link in the description. Also, at the end here of this video, but we'd love for you to join us. Videos 5 days a week on living the Catholic spiritual life with
St. Alphonsus Liguori.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
He's hard punching. He's heaven, hell, death, judgment, all the great themes that you want to think about during Lent. So, friends.
All the stuff you like to talk about.
Hey, thanks for watching.